Mr. Harrison was a man who owned everything people dreamed of: companies, cars, mansions, and power. But inside his heart, there was a space that money could never fill. That empty space came from the pain of watching his twin sons, Noah and Nathan, grow up unable to walk, move, or speak. They were 7 years old, but their bodies were as still as newborns. Every morning, he watched nurses lift them from their beds, feed them, and dress them, while he stood helplessly at the door. Doctors had told him many times, "There is no improvement, their condition is permanent." Those words played in his mind like a broken record. Slowly, Mr. Harrison stopped believing in miracles. He stopped hoping. He came home less often, buried himself in work, and convinced himself that maybe distance hurt less than looking at the truth. But even when he tried to be strong, the twins' silent eyes always pulled at his heart. They never cried, never complained, but their stillness was louder than any scream. In the mansion lived a quiet maid named Grace. She was calm, humble, and moved through the house like a soft breeze. She spoke little, worked much, and never asked for anything. To Mr. Harrison, she was just another helper, someone paid to do her job. But he never noticed how her eyes softened every time she looked at the twins, as if she saw something no one else did. One morning, after a long night of work, Mr. Harrison returned home earlier than usual. The house was silent. The staff was cleaning downstairs. He walked toward the twins' room, expecting to see nurses inside. But when he reached the half-open door, he saw something unbelievable. Grace was inside, alone, with the boys. And she was doing something he had never seen anyone do. Not the nurses. Not the doctors. Not even him. She was sitting between the twins, one hand gently on Noah's chest, the other holding Nathan's small fingers. Her eyes were closed, and she whispered softly, words filled with warmth and something almost magical. "You are strong, and you are loved. Your bodies may be still, but your spirit is alive. One day, even a little movement will be a miracle. And miracles start with love." The room felt warm, safe. The twins, who usually stared blankly, looked unusually calm. Their eyes followed her voice. They leaned slightly toward her touch, as if their bodies understood her even if their voices couldn't speak. Mr. Harrison froze. He had never seen anyone speak to his children like that. Everyone treated them like fragile objects, not like children with feelings. He stepped back quietly so she wouldn't see him, but his heart stayed in that room. For the first time in years, he felt something strange, hope. The next day, he came early again. And again, Grace was there. This time she carried a small wooden box filled with little bells. She took one bell and placed it gently in Noah's palm. "Even if your hand only moves a little, make a sound," she told him. "Your silence has power, but your sound will shake the world." Noah's fingers didn't close around the bell, but his eyes focused on it with deep attention. Nathan too stared quietly, as if waiting for his turn. Every day, Grace continued this routine, talking to them, touching their hands, moving their fingers, stretching their legs, singing lullabies, and telling stories about brave children who found strength in impossible situations. She did this when no doctor was around, when nurses left, and when the house was silent. She did it because she believed someone had to believe in the twins, even if the world didn't. One night, Mr. Harrison decided to watch openly instead of hiding. When Grace noticed him, she stood up quickly, embarrassed. "Sir, I'm sorry. I only wanted to." He stopped her gently. "Grace, why do you do all this?" She looked down at her hands. "Because they deserve more than machines and medical words. They deserve love, sir. And I know what it feels like to be left hopeless." Her voice cracked softly. "When I was young, I could not walk for 2 years after an accident. Everyone said I would never stand again. But someone believed in me. And belief made me stronger than medicine." Mr. Harrison felt a sting in his eyes. He had money, but this simple woman had something he didn't: faith. Days passed. And one morning, something astonishing happened. While Grace moved Nathan's hand gently, the little bell in his fingers suddenly made a faint sound, a tiny chime, soft but real. Grace gasped, tears filling her eyes. Mr. Harrison, standing by the door, felt his heart race. The sound was small, but to him, it felt like thunder. For the first time, the twins had responded. For the first time, their bodies had listened. And for the first time, Mr. Harrison believed miracles were possible. All because of something simple, something powerful. Grace's hidden routine. Her love. Her faith. Something money could never buy. The tiny bell sound stayed in Mr. Harrison's mind long after the moment had passed. That one soft chime felt like a door opening, a door that had been shut for 7 long years. He stood quietly near the doorway, watching Grace hug Nathan gently, whispering, "You did it. I knew you could." Noah blinked slowly, almost as if he was trying to understand why everyone was so happy. The room felt alive in a way it never had before. That day, Mr. Harrison cancelled all his meetings. He stayed home, walking around with a strange feeling in his chest. It wasn't fear. It wasn't stress. It was something warm and unfamiliar, hope. Every few minutes, he found himself peeking into the twins' room, watching Grace continue her calm routine. She massaged the boys' stiff arms, moved their legs, and kept talking to them as if they were listening to every word. In the afternoon, he quietly entered the room and sat on a chair beside Grace. She looked surprised but didn't stop her work. "Sir, today was a good sign," she said softly. "A body that has been still for years doesn't respond by accident. It means something inside is waking up." Her words made his heart beat faster. "Do you think they can recover?" His voice shook, unable to hide his fear. Grace smiled gently. "Recovery is a big word, sir. But improvement, yes. I believe in that. They just need someone who refuses to give up." Mr. Harrison lowered his eyes. For the first time, he felt ashamed. He had given up on his own children long before the world did. He had looked at their condition as a burden, not a challenge. Suddenly, Nathan made a tiny movement, his fingers twitched again. Grace quickly took his hand and encouraged him. "Try again, sweetheart. You can make the bell ring again." This time the bell made a slightly louder chime. Mr. Harrison's eyes widened. He felt tears forming, but he quickly wiped them away. Grace didn't say anything, but she saw it. And for the first time, she saw the father truly see his sons, not as disabled children, but as little boys with a heartbeat, a soul, and silent dreams. As days passed, small changes began to appear. Noah's eyes followed objects more clearly. Nathan's fingers moved slightly when Grace touched them. Their breaths became more controlled, and their bodies showed tiny signs of life no doctor had ever mentioned. But the most shocking moment came one evening. Grace was telling them a story about a brave little bird who couldn't fly but still tried every day. As she spoke, Noah's lips trembled softly. Not enough to form words, but enough to show effort. Grace froze. "Sir, look." Mr. Harrison rushed forward. Noah stared right at his father, his lips moving again, trying to make a sound, even if no voice came out. It was the first time in years that Noah had shown emotional response directed at him. A sudden fear gripped Mr. Harrison. What if doctors found out? What if they tried to stop this routine? What if something went wrong? He didn't want anything to break the progress the twins were making. Before he could speak, Grace placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Sir, don't be afraid of hope. It's not a weakness." Her calmness steadied him. That night, he sat with the twins longer than ever before. He held their hands, something he hadn't done since they were babies. The boys looked at him quietly, their eyes softer, more aware. A deep ache filled his chest, guilt mixed with love. When Grace came in with warm blankets, she saw something new. Mr. Harrison whispering to his sons, "I'm here. I'm not leaving anymore." From the hallway, one of the staff members secretly watched them, eyes narrowed. Someone in the mansion did not like these changes. Someone who believed the twins' condition was hopeless, and wanted things to stay that way. And that person was about to cause trouble. For the next few days, the mansion felt different. Happier. Brighter. Grace continued her gentle routine every morning, massaging the twins' tired muscles, stretching their arms and legs slowly, making tiny bells ring to encourage movement. And each day, Noah and Nathan showed a little more response. Nothing dramatic, nothing magical, just small changes that meant the world to a father who had lost hope. But unknown to Mr. Harrison, someone else had been observing everything with cold eyes. Her name was Ms. Turner, the head housekeeper. She had worked for Mr. Harrison for years, and she liked having control. She liked being the one who made decisions, who ordered people around. And she hated that the quiet maid Grace was suddenly the center of attention in the mansion. One afternoon, Ms. Turner walked into the twins' room without knocking. Grace was helping Noah move his fingers across a soft cloth, trying to build touch response. Nathan was lying on his side, looking calm. Ms. Turner crossed her arms. "Why are you wasting so much time? These boys will never improve. Just feed them and keep them clean. That's all." Grace looked up, calmly but firmly. They are improving." Ms. Turner rolled her eyes. A twitch. A little eye movement. "That's not improvement. Stop giving their father false hope." Grace didn't argue. She just continued working, her hands gentle but steady. But she noticed something. Noah's breathing changed. He didn't like Ms. Turner's harsh voice. His chest rose faster, his fingers tensed slightly. Grace placed a hand on his arm. "It's okay. You're safe." Ms. Turner watched in silence, her anger growing. She wanted Grace gone. She wanted things to stay the same, predictable, controlled. She didn't want Mr. Harrison to depend on Grace, because that meant Ms. Turner would lose her power. Later that evening, when Grace left the twins' room to make their warm milk, Ms. Turner slipped inside. She looked at the twins with a cold expression. "So, your father thinks you're improving," she whispered bitterly. "Let's see how long that lasts." Her voice was low, but the twins reacted. Nathan's eyes widened slightly, and Noah's fingers curved tightly as if trying to protect himself. Ms. Turner smirked and turned on the room's bright lights, even though it hurt the boys' eyes. She knew they were sensitive to light. She clapped loudly near their ears, watching them flinch. But she didn't know Mr. Harrison had returned early and was walking down the hallway. Before anything worse could happen, he stepped into the doorway and froze. Ms. Turner was standing over his sons, hands on her hips, face full of irritation, bright lights hurting their eyes, her voice raised. His heart dropped. "Ms. Turner," he said sharply. She jumped. "Sir, I was just checking on them." "Checking," he repeated. "Or bothering?" Her face paled. She opened her mouth to explain, but he didn't let her speak. For the first time in years, his voice was ice cold. "Leave. Now." Ms. Turner walked out quickly, but anger burned in her eyes. She wasn't done. She wanted Grace fired, and she wanted the progress to stop. Forever. Mr. Harrison rushed to the boys, turning off the bright lights, holding their hands gently. He whispered, I'm here. Nobody will hurt you." Grace returned moments later and saw fear on the boys' faces. When she looked at Mr. Harrison, she understood something was very wrong. "Sir, what happened?" But before he could answer, Noah did something unexpected, something he had never done in his life. He lifted his hand, slowly, shaking, and placed it on Grace's wrist. Her eyes filled with tears. Mr. Harrison watched, shocked and speechless. Noah had never reached out to anyone before. Grace whispered, "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here." Little did they know. Ms. Turner was standing at the far end of the hall, staring at them with cold, angry eyes. And she was planning something that would put everything at risk. The house felt uneasy that night. Even though the twins had shown progress that touched everyone's hearts, a strange tension filled the mansion. Grace could feel it. Mr. Harrison could feel it. And the twins, though they could not speak, felt it most deeply. After dinner, Grace returned to the twins' room to continue their evening routine. She began massaging their tiny hands, rubbing warm oil on their arms, and humming softly. The boys loved her voice. It made them calm, safe, protected. But outside the room, someone else was awake. Ms. Turner. She moved through the hallway like a shadow, angry and determined. All day she had been thinking, planning, waiting. She believed Grace was stealing her place in the mansion. She believed the twins' progress would make Mr. Harrison depend on Grace more. And she hated that idea. Her footsteps stopped near the twins' room. She listened. She heard Grace humming a gentle lullaby. "That woman," Ms. Turner whispered bitterly. "I'll make sure she never works here again." Meanwhile, inside the room, Grace noticed Noah looking toward the door with fear. His breathing grew uneven. His fingers curled tightly into the blanket. Grace whispered, "What happened, Noah? Are you scared?" He blinked twice. A sign she taught him for yes. Something was wrong. Grace stood up slowly and opened the door to check the hallway. Empty. Silent. But she felt someone had been standing there. She stepped out for a moment, searching the corridor. Her footsteps echoed softly. No one appeared. But the air felt heavy, as if someone dangerous was still close. She hurried back inside and locked the door gently. Unaware of all this, Mr. Harrison was in his study, reviewing medical documents. He circled improvement signs, small hand movements, eye contact, breathing changes. Every detail made him emotional. For the first time in years, he felt real hope. "I can't lose this progress," he whispered. "I won't let anyone hurt them again." But while he worked, Miss Turner walked into the kitchen and opened a drawer. She pulled out a small bottle, one she had stolen earlier from a nurse who visited the twins. A strong sedative. One drop would make the boys sleep heavily. Too heavily. "Let's see what your little hero Maid does after this," Miss Turner muttered. She waited until the mansion grew quiet. Midnight. The staff had gone to sleep. Only Grace, the twins, and Mr. Harrison were awake. Miss Turner walked silently toward the twins' room, holding the bottle in her pocket. But the moment she reached the door, she heard a sound inside, soft crying. Nathan. He almost never cried. Not anymore. Grace rushed to him, holding his hands. "Nathan, sweetheart, tell me, what's wrong?" He moved his eyes toward the door again. Terrified. Grace felt a chill run down her spine. She whispered, "Is someone outside?" Nathan blinked once. "Yes." Grace froze. Slowly, she stood up and went to the door. She didn't open it this time. She just placed her ear against it. Silence. Then, soft footsteps. Her heart pounded. She stepped back quickly. Someone was definitely there. At the same moment, Mr. Harrison left his study and walked into the hallway. When he saw a dark figure moving near the twins' door, he frowned. His voice broke through the silence. "Who's there?" Miss Turner jumped, startled. The bottle almost fell from her hand. "Sir. I was just checking." But Mr. Harrison's eyes had already fallen on her trembling hand. And on the small bottle sticking out of her pocket. "What is that?" he asked, voice dangerously calm. Miss Turner's face went pale. "It's nothing. Just medicine." "For my children?" he asked, stepping closer. "Why do you have it?" She tried to hide the bottle, but it slipped from her hand and hit the floor with a small sound. The label faced upward. Strong sedative. Warning, not for children without supervision. Grace, hearing voices, opened the door slightly and froze when she saw the scene outside. Mr. Harrison looked at Miss Turner with disbelief, shock, then rage. "You were going to drug my children," he whispered, voice breaking. Inside the room, Noah and Nathan stared with wide, terrified eyes. For the first time in their lives, they understood that someone wanted to hurt them. Miss Turner tried to run. But Mr. Harrison grabbed her arm. "You are not going anywhere," he said, shaking with anger. "Not tonight." Everything was about to change. The mansion was silent after the confrontation. Miss Turner was held firmly by Mr. Harrison, her face pale with shock. She had never expected the billionaire to catch her in the act. Grace stood behind the twins, holding their tiny hands, whispering softly, "It's okay, you're safe now." The boys, usually quiet and still, clung to her fingers, as if sensing the danger had passed. Mr. Harrison's heart raced, but he knew exactly what to do. He called security immediately, ensuring that Miss Turner would never enter the twins' room again. Then he turned to Grace and whispered, "Thank you, for everything. You saved them, and I think, somehow, you saved me too." Grace smiled gently, shaking her head. "Sir, I only did what anyone with love would do. These children deserve a chance." That night, Mr. Harrison sat beside Noah and Nathan as Grace continued her gentle routine. He lifted Noah's hand, guiding it toward the small bell that had first marked their progress. The boy's fingers touched it lightly, making a soft chime. Nathan tried the same, his tiny hand trembling, but producing a faint sound as well. Tears filled Mr. Harrison's eyes. 7 years of hopelessness, fear, and doubt were slowly melting away. For the first time, he saw a future where his children could smile, move, and even speak. Over the next few days, the twins' improvement became more noticeable. Their fingers moved more easily, their eyes followed movements naturally, and tiny sounds escaped their lips. Each small sign of progress filled the mansion with joy. Mr. Harrison spent more time with them, reading stories, singing softly, and joining Grace in her routines. He realized something he had ignored for too long. Love, patience, and belief were more powerful than money, doctors, or treatments. Grace had taught him that, and the twins were proof. One morning, as sunlight streamed through the tall windows, Noah and Nathan surprised everyone. With Grace supporting them, they lifted their arms together toward their father. Then, softly, Noah tried to speak, "Dad," and Nathan echoed it faintly, "Dad." It was not perfect, but it was real. Mr. Harrison fell to his knees, holding their hands, unable to stop the tears flowing. He whispered, "You did it, we did it. We never gave up." Grace knelt beside them, smiling through her own tears. "They did it, sir. You helped them too. Your love gave them courage." Mr. Harrison realized she was right. His presence, his attention, and his patience had mattered just as much as Grace's dedication. Together, they had created something stronger than any medicine or therapy. The story of that night, the confrontation with Ms. Turner, the quiet victories of the twins, and the discovery of Grace's hidden dedication became a turning point for the family. Mr. Harrison officially made Grace the twins' caretaker and therapist. She was no longer just a maid, she was part of the family. And the mansion, once filled with cold silence, now rang with laughter, soft voices, and hope. In the final scene, Mr. Harrison held both Noah and Nathan in his arms, their small faces glowing with innocent smiles. Grace sat nearby, watching proudly. The father whispered softly, "We will never give up again, together." The twins looked at him, as if understanding every word. The past 7 years of despair seemed distant now. Hope had returned, stronger than ever. Love had won. And in that quiet, warm mansion, surrounded by dedication, courage, and care, a family healed, not through money or power, but through patience, belief, and heart.